Stop playing Monopoly. Stop playing Monopoly. Stop playing Monopoly. It's a bad game. Every year, Hasbro releases some new twist that barely changes anything except for the colors on the box. And every year, I go into Target and I see the wall of Monopoly. And I just lose a little bit of my soul. A lot of families play board games with each other over the holidays. Over Thanksgiving or Christmas, many people will play Monopoly. This year, pick a different game. Monopoly is bad, and here's why. Monopoly is famous for two things, namely, making people mad and taking a really long time. Both of those things are bad, and reasons you should not enjoy this game. But I'm not here to tell you what you like, I'm here to tell you why Monopoly sucks. Monopoly is known for building rifts in families, starting arguments, causing people to hate their friends, which arguably other board games do better anyway, but here's why it does that. Monopoly's rules literally force you to charge players for doing the one thing you're allowed to do on the board. Roll the dice and go to a square. And this game makes sense that it would get even more maddening as time goes on, because as more property is purchased, as more houses and hotels are purchased, the risk goes up for landing on a square that you don't own. And if you didn't luck out in the first trip around the board or two, then you're probably just screwed. And this game is going to take away hours of your life with no chance of you winning. But why does Monopoly take so long? What about the rules makes this game last? Monopoly doesn't have a win condition. In games, a win condition is an action that a player can take to declare victory for themselves. Think reaching the end of the board in a game of Candyland, or solving the murder in a game of Clue. Monopoly doesn't have this. Instead, it only has loss conditions. The way to win is only to make all of your other players lose. And sure, last man standing games have gained popularity recently. I mean, just look at Fortnite. But these games have built-in mechanics that prevent this game from going too long. They've established that games that go too long are not fun or good game design, and they've built around that. Think of the storm. It closes in around you, preventing the game from going longer than a certain time limit. After a certain point, once all of the property has been purchased and people start buying houses and hotels in a game of Monopoly, there's no choice for the player. You simply roll the dice and hope that you don't lose too much money in the process. But the person who got the high value tiles is probably going to win anyway. Side note, high value tiles not Park Place and Boardwalk, but actually the oranges. Another interesting note here is the best way to win at a game of Monopoly is actually to never buy hotels. The rules state that if you use all of the houses in the box until more houses get added when someone removes their houses to buy a hotel, you cannot buy houses. So, funny enough, the best way to win Monopoly is to monopolize the housing market. Now, this is the part that really gets under my skin. Every year, Hasbro puts out these new different types of Monopoly. Some are just reskins for what's popular, what's in the zeitgeist right now. But some are actual rule changes or themed on something that is just so horribly out of touch. One of these twists that Hasbro put out on the game is called Monopoly Socialism Edition, with the tagline, "Winning is for capitalists." But this game is just so horribly out of touch with what socialism actually is. Here's a few examples of some of the chance cards you can encounter in Socialist Monopoly. You keep working despite a circular saw injury. 9 good fingers is all you need. Hasbro, that happens in capitalism. People overwork their employees in capitalism. This happens at Amazon right now. I'm just reading these chance cards and you catch your neighbor using a plastic straw to drink from a disposable cup. You seem to be doing too well for yourself. That's not how socialism works. You bring your own mason jar to the coffee shop for your iced decaf soy latte. I hate this game. But what's missed here is that Monopoly is based on a game that's original intention was to showcase the dangers of unregulated capitalism. But I'll get into that in a bit. Also completely misses the fact that in the base Monopoly game, players receive $200 for passing go. which sounds a whole lot like universal basic income. This one really grinds my gears. Recently, Hasbro released Miss Monopoly, which is Hasbro's attempt at creating a game of Monopoly meant to be empowering to women. The store page even says, "This is the first game where women make more than men." The game itself is intended to celebrate the many things that women have created that we often take for granted. Wi-Fi, chocolate chip cookies, bulletproof vests. That's what they list on their website. But it also sorely misses the mark about why feminism is important and the struggle that women face in the American workforce. Hasbro had a real opportunity here to create a game that showcases the hurdles that women face in the workforce in America. Dealing with discrimination, not getting a job because there was an equally qualified male candidate. These are genuine struggles that women really face, but instead the rule changes of Miss Monopoly boil down to, when you pass go, men make less than women. It also doesn't help that Miss Monopoly is the niece of Mr. Monopoly, which really just stinks of nepotism. Underlying all of this is the fact that Monopoly itself is an allegedly stolen game design. In the early 1900s, feminist and female game designer, arguably the first female game designer, Lizzie Magie, created a game called Landlord's Game. This game was intended to show the dangers of unregulated capitalism and private property, meaning Miss Monopoly is a transformation of a game that was stolen from the first female game designer that doesn't mention her at all. So, maybe I've convinced you. Maybe you're putting away that Monopoly box and you're going to pick something else to play this holiday season. To help you out, here's a few alternatives that I find way better than Monopoly. You've probably heard of Settlers of Catan, but maybe never played it. It's an excellent alternative to Monopoly. The base idea is similar. It's accruing resources and outpacing your opponents, but the game is entirely different. Also, there's numerous ways to come back from behind. So if you start the game off slow, you might still be able to pull out a win. If you haven't played it, give it a shot. If what you really want out of a board game is to get mad at your friends and family, there are tons of great bluffing and secret role games on the market right now. There's Skull and Coup, Sheriff of Nottingham, A Fake Artist Goes to New York. I could name a million more. I recommend you try one of those instead of Monopoly. Maybe on the off chance you are just really into the property management aspect of Monopoly, of which there isn't very much, but if that idea sounds really cool to you, one of these games is called Welcome to Your Perfect Home, and it's actually all about property development. And in a really cool way, you have to work to develop a neighborhood based on a template, and a really cool aspect of this game is that it's much like bingo in that any number of players can play it. So you could play it with one person, you could play it with 100 people. Now, my personal recommendation really has nothing to do with Monopoly, but I find it to be an incredibly fun game to play with friends and family. It's called Wavelength. Oh, and the box is really cool. It's kind of like a game show. There's a big wheel in here that you have to twist and set a little dial to the right spot. It's all about predicting what your friends and family are thinking and trying to pinpoint their opinions on different things. I'll put links to where you can find all of these games in the description, but I do highly recommend that instead of ordering from a mass retailer, you go to your local game store and buy these there. It's great to support your local businesses. Thank you so much for watching. I sincerely hope you take Monopoly out of your rotation of board games and replace it with an alternative. If you do and you enjoy it, leave a comment below. I'd love to hear about it. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. Thanks. Bye. Imagine how the pitch meeting for a game like Monopoly would go today. Okay, so it's a game, right, where you have to buy property. Oh, okay, property management simulator. Okay, I can get into that. Yeah. And like you use your property to like bankrupt your friends. Oh, how do you do that? Oh, by waiting until they land on your square over and over again.